years ago won't buy much of anything here.
Why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
We're live. RTD Live Talk. Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. Getting started a little bit late, but once again, got another interesting topic that I think we should cover. So looking forward to having some good back and forth as long as everything flows smoothly on my end. Other than that, I'll give it a second, give more people time to be notified, because as of now, I haven't been notified for my own stream yet. Therefore, there's a little bit of a delay or a hang up, or perhaps the subject matter is so important that not too many people will be notified this evening because of the impact of tonight's topics. But that being the case, got to keep moving anyway. So with that being the case, welcome to the live stream for those that are here. My name is Mike, the host of Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. Looking forward to having some great back and forth. Thought a couple of articles to you tonight and get your thoughts. And as always, if there's anything else worthy of talking about that the community needs to know, definitely let us know in the chat right here. And if we have any new viewers, also in the chat, let me know where you're watching from. Would love to acknowledge your presence. And then there's a number above my head, 313-462-0027. That number is for you to let your voice be heard. So with that being the case, I will acknowledge a couple people's presence and then get right into the primary article this evening and then go from there. See where it takes us. Won't be on long tonight, but wanted to cover some things. Spirit King's in the building. How you doing, Spirit? We got Scott, we got Joshua, we got Kenneth, we got Frank, we got Excalibur, low blood pressure, we got Nathaniel, we got Pat. We got low blood pressure from Corpus Christi, Texas. We got B.A. Dennison says, I saw you're a part of the On the Chain. That's cool. Watching from Orange County, New York. Okay, welcome. On the Chain. Not sure what that is. But let's keep it moving. So with that being the case, debt. Once again, it's one of them subjects that we can't avoid because it has taken over this current system as a whole. It's comprised of debt, made of debt. Without debt, it doesn't move forward, and therefore debt needs to be addressed. And so right now we're reaching a point of complete debt saturation where there's no way of resolving the debt issue in a reasonable manner where there will not be a lot of casualties. And so debt, in the way that it's been created, the way that it's been pretty much positioned in everyone's lives. At some point, everyone's kind of obligated to take on some form of debt, whether it be through financing something or another, or just to enjoy some of the finer things in life. Most people tend to want to finance it through credit and things of that nature. So with that being the case, recently IMF came out with some interesting information. And so, of course, tonight's title has been altered, but it's one of the things that they can't say or the mainstream news can't publish as far as how the debt, I can't say that the first two words because it'll be flagged immediately, but how debt has become a concern. And it ultimately, no matter what form of fashion, whether it's public, private, whatever, it all boils down to impact your financial future. So if you had a chance to watch the article I did or the video I did earlier, I talked about financial security, how that concept was overhyped, because it never really took into consideration the impacts of monetary and fiscal policy as they're colliding right now. So global debt is at an all-time high. And once again, we're given a figure, but it's once again, that's on the surface. There's always more to the story than we'll ever know in the reality. And so with that being the case, we can take what's been given with us and use that as something to work with. So that being the case, we got Matthew, we got Road to Me, we got So pick up cast of reporters for a new show. Somebody must have looked like you. Oh, no problem. We got Alan. Yeah, send me that and send that picture to me in the chat. A link to that. I would like to see that one. Anyway, but with that being the case, let me dive right into it. And so I put together pretty much 2 articles, but yet, once again, subject matter is the same, global debt. And then I'm going to share my thoughts with you and let you know, unfortunately, it doesn't take someone with a PhD to kind of gather and to come up with a hypothesis as to how it's going to end. And I'm not making light of the situation, but yet it's one of the things when you kind of know the ending of the story, you can kind of prepare it and to find a way to take it and to process it in a different light. But let's get right into the very first one. So here we have an article here, and this is from, where is this from? This is from Yahoo News. Let me zoom in some so we can get a little bit better. This is from the global debt surges to record high of 188 trillion. And so that's just the debt that is public or private. And of course, they're going to say a lot of this is more on the private side, but yet governments last decade has, definitely added to their expenditures, as well as central banks has added to their balance sheets to kind of keep this thing plastered up. But give you an idea what's going on. Here we have it looks like the new, okay, that's going away. Let me go back here. So for whatever reason, so it looks like we have the new International Fund Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva. And so it looks like she's Christine Lagarde's replacement. So not sure of her background, but clearly in order to take this position, you have to be in on the scheme. So she's definitely someone, and I'm going to actually try to find out a little background information on her. Give me a second. I figure I would do this just to see what her background is, to see if she has any economics in her background. And so it says she's a Bulgarian economist who is the managing director of IMF. She worked as the chief executive of the World Bank, and she served as the acting president of the World Bank Group. And she previously served as a vice president of the European Commission under Jean-Claude Juncker. From 1993 to 2000, she served in a number of positions in the World Bank Group. So once again, the World Bank Group, BIS, IMF, all entities created around that whole global, the Bretton Woods idea and concept of placing the dollar as a primary vehicle up until it was no longer needed. And then they put together the SDR, attempting to roll that out. But as of now, it doesn't look like that might be the case. So I wonder what their plans are for us. But we know there has to be a plan, because when you get articles such as this saying that the debt is at record high, how do you pay back 188 trillion from what we're being told? How do you pay that back in an environment where everything is coming to a halt? There is no growth from the standpoint of people actually being able to return a profit on much, and then to nevertheless pay back the debts that they've taken out to arrive at this point. So as you can see, it's one of continuous cycles. If no debt is created, then it's hard to keep moving forward. And so things are slowing down a little bit. And here we go today. So give you an idea, it says, while the private sector borrowing accounts for the vast majority of the total, I'll zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. And so it says the private sector borrowing accounts for the vast majority of the debt. Make sure my volume, okay, make sure everything's good. It says the rise puts government and individuals at risk. And so that's why I titled this tonight's session, How It Will Impact Your Financial Future, because they're telling us that at this current moment, it says the rise puts governments and individuals at risk if the economy slows down. And so once again, if the economy slows down, because from what we're kind of hearing from the mainstream news, things are slowing down. So you might want to remove if and say as the economy slows down. And then here's one thing that most people may not really take in consideration. It's a matter of how much risk and what type of risk will this all end up being reflected in. And to answer that question or whatever I put out there, it's the national currencies. And so that's how they will calculate and total this catastrophe that's underway. And so it says global debt, both public and private, has reached an all-time high of 188 trillion. This amounts to 230% of world output. So if you take how much is actually produced and you take how much has been borrowed into existence, we got something like, clearly, that's 230% over the world output. So you do the math there and let me know what you think about that one. And so this is, as a result, the current chief said in a speech to open a 2-day conference on debt. So once again, here's the thing that really bothers me. You have to assume that these people know kind of what's going on, what type of system they are operating and running. But then they hold conferences playing like, oh, it's a surprise, it's a mystery. Like, how does this happen? Yeah, okay. It says that is up from the previous record of 164 trillion in 2016. So that's an additional 24 trillion added that we're being told. And like, once again, these numbers here, are good figures. I believe it's a lot more. And so once again, it says corporate debt accounts for about 2/3 of the total, but government borrowing has risen as well. So corporate debt. So we know that as a result of the great financial crisis, a lot of corporations experienced problems. Therefore, monetary policy incentivized corporations and governments to borrow more to turn a profit at a faster pace. But then they turn those profits back into corporate buybacks, propping up the share prices, creating an artificial stimulus to their own model of finance / growth. And once again, as the spigot was cut off when the tightening happened, we see what happens, and it's being reflected in this repo market. Then you factor in now this repo market is going to be a continuous QE, not QE. And so once again, there's going to be major issues brewing. There are major issues brewing. And so moving on a little further. Here we go. Here's a little 2-minute clip here that it sums up everything, and it has to do with student debt, government debt. And then it talks about the all-time highs that we're having here in this country if you're in the United States of America. And so it says the U.S., let me zoom in for you. So you factor in 188 trillion. That's an all-time high, up 230% over output. And then here's something else that's really should be alarming. It says the U.S. public debt currently stands at a record 23 trillion. So we are our government debt itself is a portion, can be interconnected with that 188. So that let me know that 188 is on a good side, because I remember seeing articles. Not long ago, saying it was like 244 trillion. So how do you get 188? Clearly, this article has been fudged a little bit. And speaking of which, while I'm ranting, let me go ahead and actually find one of those older articles that talks about global debt being at 240 something trillion. Because I remember doing videos before in the past where, so just to show exactly what I'm talking about, we got the IMF coming out with their figures of 188. But then we have another article that was in January of this year that says world's debt pile is hovering near a record 244 trillion. And so once again, well, that's a big difference. That's 60 some trillion, give or take, missing from that calculation that I shared with you at first. It says the global debt to the GDP ratio exceeds 318%. And so this is from the Washington-based IIF. And so we got the IIF says it's 244. IMF says 188. There you go. You have complete confusion, and which spells someone here is completely off. So take both of those numbers, put them together, and then you might have a more realistic total. But out of that breakdown of 244, I'll zoom in some more so you guys can see. So this number just seems more reasonable. It says overall debt has grown to 244, and this is as of the third quarter of last year. So, probably I missed something in translating this, but debt is debt. Households equate to 44.2 trillion. That means all the credit extension financing of our lifestyles is factored in here. Non-financial corporates is 68 trillion. And then we got government, 63 trillion, and financial sector, 58 trillion. So here's something worth thinking about. So these are the numbers that we're being given. And so you might say, okay, Mike, we've been having debt for a while. What's the big deal? Okay, think about this. Just from the very subject matter or the title of this live stream, it has to do with the fact that your financial future is interwoven into the global debt issue. And so you know how a lot of times they, not they, but the mainstream news and governments and especially presidents like to divide us with their verbiage saying that, here in America, we're exceptional. We're the leaders of the free world. We're leading in a lot of categories, of course. And one of the most alarming categories we're leading in is the national debt. 23 trillion we're the most indebted nation on the planet. That's just our intra and intergovernment operations, not to mention unfunded liabilities and all the way down the horn. And so you factor in that we're leading the nation in a lot of categories. It's not good, but then you got the rest of the world in the same boat. And so how does this end is what we should be concerned with the most. And I want to definitely just share my thoughts on how that might play out. And so Bitcoin Ben, appreciate the love offer, my friend. It says debt is an illusion in an inflationary currency environment. I can dig that. I can dig that 100%. And so with that statement alone, the first thing that came to my mind from your statement, Ben, is that if there's 244 trillion worth of debt, that means that there has been 200. I mean, that's just a fair number, 244. There's been $244. We put it in dollar terms because it's the reserve currency, but that factors in all currencies equated to a dollar number in a digital illusion brought into existence. Because mind you, if there's only 1.7 trillion worth of paper dollars, that tells me that the remaining 242.3 trillion are solely in digital obligations that have been created, debits, credits, fractional reserve lending, lots of it. And so that's an issue as well, because even the people, as we're all interconnected in this system, that tells me that if every human being on this planet decided to or wanted to attempt to go down to their bank or to call up their broker and say, you know what, I think I want to just withdraw some things, there wouldn't be enough paper in any currency to make those debts whole. So that's also something that, once again, when it's time to get out, which the time has already passed, because I got another article I'm going to show with you to let you know that all the big money people are already out. It's just the people who don't know they're still in. And so, Dewan, I appreciate the love offering. It says, I forgot to offer you a free copy of my unreleased book, ABT Bitcoin, on the Berwick live stream call-in. Where can I send it? Dewan, I appreciate that, my friend. Do me a favor. Go to rethinkingthedollar.com, shoot me an email, and then we'll connect and get that. And I definitely, would like to take a peek at it. So I appreciate that love offer, my friend. Interested to get your thoughts on that as well. And what else here? So let me see. I got another thought from Pad. It says those numbers, 244 trillion, does not include derivatives, which are debt. The total would make many, many times trillion. So Pad, that's very true. And it kind of slipped my mind because I'm so focused on like the news and news in front of me. But since you brought that up, I think it's time to go ahead and just type in what was the latest derivatives debt, because once again, I was trying to be nice. I didn't want to scare off a lot of people because this information for a lot of people can be extremely scary. And so let me pull up an article here. So here's something that just popped up. And so let me see here. Let me go back. And so let me, here's an interesting article here. And this is a little bit old, but I don't want to use this one. So give me a second. Let me find something that will be worthy of bringing to your existence, to your presence. Let me see if there's anything really, really good out here. I see something talking about quadrillion. I see something that says 555. And so here's the thing. To be truthful, we really don't know, because we've been given figures that are provided by the very same institutions that would not really want us to know how much in its entirety is actually out there, because Okay, here goes something. Here goes something that sounds interesting. So here's an interesting article. And so I'll put this on the screen. So this is from Global Research. And this was, when was this? This was as of 2015. And so this is something that we can use as a guide because this is 4 years old now. And so if it says along with credit default swaps and other exotic instruments, the total notional derivatives value is about 1.5 quadrillion, about 20% more than 2008. And so if it was 1.5 quadrillion according to their estimates, and so this looks like a reputable site, that would lead me to believe that since that was still kind of during the QE phase, so I would imagine that just off the reassurance that the globally systemic banks had in regards to the central banks coming to bail them out still and provide liquidity for them, the derivatives was probably increasing exponentially at that point. And so here we had 1.5 quadrillion. And so Alan Myers, the forensic accountant, will be back on real soon. And so he's going to actually try to break down the concept of trying to think about a quadrillion, because I can't fathom, I can't even put that into an example for you guys. But just to use the word quadrillion, like who would have ever thought, I'm sure 20, 30 years ago, my grandparents would have never even knew how to spell quadrillion, nevertheless think that we would be even using the word quadrillion on our lips. But if you factor in 244, what we've been told, plus 1.5 trillion 4 years ago, so it's probably good to say it's 2 trillion worth, 2 quadrillion worth of derivatives now, mixed with all types of exotic instruments, as this article said. The derivatives are so unfathomable that there's no way of really grabbing a hold of what they are unless you're in that industry. So I've had people respond to me saying that, that there's a lot of, good things in there that can be good for investing purposes. Of course, no doubt. But you got to know what you're doing in order to actually benefit from those things. And unfortunately, the average person, 7.69999 billion people on the planet, don't know nothing about a derivative. Nevertheless, even probably realize that we're using the words quadrillion now, are the ones that are at risk. So this plays back even more so to the concept of your financial future being directly connected to all this subject matter, because all of these numbers that I'm throwing out there, 244, 188, we got a call. Let's see what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? 1 second. I apologize. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Got the wrong thing plugged in. I got to come prepared. Forgive me. All right, caller. Hello. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama.
Pat from Alabama. How you doing this evening, my friend? What's on your mind?
Doing quite well. We've seen the repo market last couple of months. Mm-hmm. Everybody's been scared like little rabbits and everything. Could it possibly be that Deutsche Bank has already gone belly up and they haven't told us yet?
It is. And so, Pat, I appreciate you for saying that, because you got me thinking. So clearly a lot of those funds that happen to be popping up, I still get tweets every now and then tell me the exact number, but it's just unbelievable. There's billions and billions and hundreds of billions. So no doubt that those funds could be being funneled through derivatives, or not through the Deutsche Bank here, right over to the mothership over in Germany to help things out over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was, they were definitely on the phone talking to somebody, trying to get some help somewhere. And because it'd be hard for Deutsche Bank to really sail the ECB amongst all the issues they're having now, already been in negative territory. By us having 2% interest rates over here, they can probably buy themselves some time by being subsidized by the Federal Reserve on the low through this repo action. So, Pat, you are onto something. I believe I believe you're onto something, my friend.
Yeah, I feel like something has happened about 2 or 3 months ago that we're feeling right now, and we're going to really feel it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If, say, for example, I would be very confident to say some of those funds that are being lent overnight or daily or however they swing that, they're making their way over to the European area, I would assume. And here's the thing.
It's better than that.
Yeah.
The federal bank is buying their bad debt.
Yeah.
Their bad stock and whatnot.
Those non-performing loans, which are plentiful. Those products are plentiful in Europe because of negative interest rates and all the defaults and the fact that Italy's failing, Portugal, Spain's, everybody, all the pigs nations are failing, which they're taking a lot of other countries down with them. So Germany went from being in a surplus forever to all of a sudden now having a recession. Like, come on now, what happened? So they were subsidizing the rest of those other countries there, and it come back to bite them in the foot. So good stuff, man. I appreciate that thought because you definitely got me onto something.
Well, I'm going to let you go and let you think about what happened about 3 months ago, and you might put 2 and 2 together.
3 months
have fun
ago.
now.
No, don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging, Pat. Fill in the blanks.
I'll fill in the blank for you.
Please do.
It happened in April when the BISH, the Bank of International Settlement, said that they would accept gold at its 100% value.
Okay, that Basel, I think the Basel III situation or something like that, wasn't it?
Yep, and it's kind of wrinkling its way on through.
Okay, hey.
But something big has happened, like I said, 3 months ago, along that line.
No, but one thing 3 months ago was, I think it was August, if I'm not mistaken, it was the actual resolving of the LIBOR overnight lending rigging system, and every nation went their own way. And so that was one reason why nations started to now have to come up with their own mechanism for discovering the borrowing costs amongst themselves.
So 2 years to do that.
No, yeah, but here's the thing. That SOFR, which is what the U.S. is supposed to be using in September, that by it spiking up overnight to 10-point-some% and everything froze up, and then Jerome Powell saying, we're trying to figure out why the banks decided not to lend to each other. Like, they obviously, it's more than that, of course, but that 10.5% interest rate within a couple hours spooked a lot of people, and then the next day, the repo action started, and that was 2 months ago. And so we're above 400 billion.
Let me tell you, brother.
Yeah.
If they find out that money is leaving the Fed, going overseas in large quantities, it's going to be pitchfork and torch time when people are hurting over here and living on the street.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
And
that would be something that would be ideal, because that's something that people should be up and irate about. But problem is, once again, majority of the population they're not paying attention to monetary events. Nevertheless, financial events, because they're concerned with their own personal economies, working, providing for your family, inflation.
One other thing, they're discriminating badly against a group of people that have orange hair.
Orange hair? Oh my goodness, yeah, they spend a lot of time worrying about people with orange hair or a person with orange hair and an orange face. But hey, Pat, I appreciate you, my friend.
I mean, you know a lot of people with orange hair too, brother. You have fun. Bye.
All right, be good. Oh, man. Good stuff, man. I appreciate the call, Pat. Oh, goodness. Orange. Oh, yeah. So let's keep moving, man. I appreciate that. And so just to keep moving right along. And so here's what I want to throw out to you guys. If all these issues are starting to boil up to the top, they're making their way to the surface to where now the commoner, the person who probably knew nothing about derivatives or debt or any of this stuff now is starting to get wind. I believe that the alternative media community is growing, and it's going to grow more because people will start wondering and asking questions. And so my question to you guys is, if you know that things are shaky, vulnerable, there's a lot of volatility, we have a president that's bent on tweeting every 48 hours that the economy couldn't be any better while all these issues are happening around us. You know, from the video I did earlier about there's primarily been two ways of thinking now. You stick to what you've been doing or you rewrite the script. You think inside the box or you're outside the box. Where do you stand? And where do you stand, and what are your strategies? What are you doing? Because your financial future is at stake as all this debt increases, because there's only one way out of all of this debt, and that is devaluing the currencies to present an illusion that they can then pay off the currency with cheaper national currencies. And so it all boils down to, what are you holding? And if you are a person, and of course this is my opinion, if you're a person that's expecting some type of contractual obligation that has been sold to you as a financial instrument, you are probably, there's a very high percentage that you're going to be let down, whether it be through outright denial of your ability to exit in time, so your funds will be frozen, locked in. 2, monetary policy will continue to increase, therefore the monetary base will expand, therefore your number of whatever it is you're holding will increase, and creating the illusion of a higher net worth. Like whatever your property is now, it's good to say that for the next year or two, the housing prices will go up even more because of the illusion of the value of it going up, nominal value, but I can't say intrinsic, but I can say what other type of value would I use to refer to currency. I did a video about 4 or 5 different types of value. I can't think of other ones now, but you can easily, your net worth, if it's denominated in a national currency, can easily double or triple. But then you got to ask yourself, what can you get out of it? What can you get with it? And so if you became a millionaire on paper moving forward, at the same time the purchasing power of that paper is being diminished, you won't be able to really do much with it, in a sense. And so that is a way of wealth destruction, capital destruction. And that's the only route, because you look at history, every nation has gone this way of trying to print their way out. Like, they promise that they can make every payment they want. But the question is, they can't guarantee what it will purchase. So once again, the risk falls on you, the viewer. If you're watching this, if you are not thinking outside the box, and if you're inside the box, you are going to be the sole bearer of all the risk. Because, as I mentioned, the big money's already out. So I'm about to go to another article here that should make you think a little bit. So here's an article here that I came across. This was as of yesterday, but I was saving this for a special occasion. So this seems like a special occasion. And so this is a result as of the repo market. So here we have Janus, which is a financial firm. Janus Henderson Group PLC is bracing for a repeat of September's repo market turmoil to play out in the final weeks of 2019. So Janus Henderson Group PLC, I've heard them before, and I can't think of the gentleman's name. Let me pull it up right now. Let me pull this up. So Janus Henderson. So the Janus Henderson Group PLC, give you an idea of what type of corporation this is. They got 2,000 employees, publicly traded company, New York Stock Exchange, S&P 500. They were founded 2 years ago in the UK. Chairman is Gilwater, whatever, and their operating income is $442 million. Net income $2,655, and so this is a pretty big firm, and they specialize in financial products to individuals, intermediary advisories, and institutional investors globally are under trade here. So they handle big money. They're handling big money for a lot of people. And so here we have them publicly, mentioning in Bloomberg, and they're concerned. They're talking about turmoil that will unfold as the fourth quarter of 2019 ends, because the repo market was sold to the public saying that Q3 ended and there was issues on liquidity of institutions being able to meet obligations, whatever. So, it was a shortage of cash. And so here, this article here, basically what they're saying is they now are positioning themselves in cash. They're getting heavy now in cash. They're sitting on a lot of cash now because they see an opportunity for Q4 as things come to an end, that they're going to try to get in and take advantage of the need for liquidity. So they're going to be putting cash to work by lending it out themselves to profit. And they're talking about typically keeps up about 5% of his holding in cash. He said he's looking to increase that pile and then deploy it as banks step back. And so basically they're looking to become financiers in the next couple of weeks and turn a profit off of this. So this ain't the first time I've mentioned about heavy cash. And to give you an idea of who's sitting on the most cash, I'll show you, because I saw an article about, let me see, I'm sure if you guys have been paying attention, let me see here. I will give you the rundown. And so, let me see. Let me see if I can find it. So here's an article. Oh, so this is fresh. This is a fresh article, like literally 30 minutes ago. Here we go, right on time. Here are the 10 companies with the most cash on hand. Leading the way is Uncle Buffett. Uncle Buffett is sitting ready to go shopping in 2020, 2021. Uncle Buffett going to become the wealthiest young man on the planet in Federal Reserve note terms. He won't be the wealthiest, because the wealthiest are the families that own the central banks, but you get what I'm saying. But it says companies with the most cash on hand. And then this is another thing. This is another reason why I'm going to explain why I think this is important to understand. Companies with the most cash on hand, Microsoft. And so this is, I want to say this is 30. I want to say I saw somewhere where Uncle Buffett just decided, I think he went above Microsoft, but obviously this is fresh, so probably not. Microsoft, 136. Yeah, I saw somewhere where Uncle Buffett was more than 136, but I could be. I thought it was 138. Anyway, so if what I saw and had in mind is true, this is a little bit outdated, but we'll roll with it. Microsoft, 136. Berkshire Hathaway, 128. Alphabet, which is Google, 121. Apple, 100. Facebook, 52. Amazon, 43. Ford, Oracle, Cisco, and beyond. These are people who are sitting on heavy cash. So you got to ask yourself a question. Why are all these companies sitting on cash? They ultimately know how this is going to come to an end as far as the world being indebted and it being denominated in cash. The answer is simple. They are sitting heavy in cash so that when things tank, they're immediately going to redeem those notes, redeem those accounts. So Uncle Buffett is going to literally, as I mentioned before, in my opinion, Uncle Buffett is going to be looking to buy cities. He's going to be looking to buy towns, roads, mountains, anything with a price tag on it will definitely be on sale. So imagine what $128 billion could get you if everything was well then. And I'm just, I like to just throw out, I've talked to I've had a lot of great guests on the show. And so from all those guests, you take all those thoughts, you put it in one little sentence. The prediction is, 70% market correction to everything. So housing, stocks, Michael Pinto, I'm having Michael Pinto back on the show again. And Michael Pinto, he's one of those guys that says, he just be blunt. 90% stock market crash. Like, he paints a very serious picture. And so imagine an environment where everything tangible and real in the form of what your average person has saved up for, worked hard for, and accumulated as a part of their net worth portfolio, all of a sudden going on sale for 70%, 80% off. And this is a most extreme worst case scenario. God forbid. I hope it doesn't get to that point. But it's one of the things you just got to throw it out there and say, you weren't surprised. That's how outrageous things can actually be because of the monetary fiscal policy that continues to kick the can down the road. The further the can is kicked, the further you suppress a correction, the only more pressure is building up underneath to where when it explodes, it's going to be worse than what it was if they would just let it correct. But just think about this. So these individuals are sitting on cash. At the same time, debt is going through the roof. Debt is going to, as a result of all the stuff going on, monetary fiscal policy, government is going to triple, double. Central bank is going to print. And so before all that happens, all these companies know that their portfolios stands to be lost due to devaluation of currencies. And so Microsoft has major plans. Like Bill Gates, he will probably try to buy Africa. Like Bill Gates is heavily in Africa right now with all the stuff he's doing, good or bad. Let you do your homework. But Bill Gates will definitely try to buy a country. And because of economic hardship of governments, it'll be a lot easier to come in there and offer government subsidies, aka buying rights and buying things like never before. So expect these companies here that are heavy cash, Facebook, Apple, they're going to be even bigger. And so that is what the big boys are doing. And then I haven't got into some of the other things that they're going to be using to store their cash in, which of course be metals. I think I saw something about Microsoft or Apple. Apple bought a large stash of silver, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago. So they're sitting on a hoard of silver, if I'm not mistaken. Or they'll have access to whatever they can get. And if they buy a whole if Bill Gates going to Africa and literally subsidize the Congo, he'll definitely be able to provide silver for Microsoft at fraction of the cost with no problem because he's bought a country and bought all the people in the country. So yeah, so this is just some worst case off the cuff. I'm probably talking way beyond what I should be talking tonight, but this is what's going on, man. And I thought I would share this because this is where debt is. This is where debt hits the surface. This is where things really begin to meet the road and become problematic. And so your financial future, my financial future, we're all caught in the middle of this. We are unfortunately might be the casualties of economic, monetary. I would say warfare against the people, but that's a very dark statement, which I'm not going to go that route. But like always, if you're warned, if you're aware, if you know what's going on, you have opportunity to do two things: stay in the box, think outside the box. It's on you. And so the question is, if you start thinking outside the box, then you have to become innovative. You got to find ways to, because more than likely, you're probably not sitting on $1 billion. But you could be sitting on $100. You could be sitting on $1,000. And then I believe there's ways of weathering the storm, even though it's going to hurt. This pain will be here inevitably. But a lot of it is how you look at it. And so with every problem that will surface, there's always opportunity. There's opportunity. There will be more opportunity in this next decade if you know how and if you're wanting to be a solution to somebody's problem. There's room for you with that. So, yeah, and that's why I'm not doom and gloom. I'm just stating numbers, showing you what's going on, sharing my opinions about it, and letting you guys kind of process it. But this is this is what's going on, man. This is stuff that we can't avoid. It's inevitable, but it is what it is. Pat says, Michael Pinto may be your most credible guest you have on. Michael Pinto, I like Mike. I've had a chance to speak to Mike a couple times now, so he's definitely real. I like the fact he's unapologetic. He's very just straight to the point, and I like that. He don't sugarcoat it. He paints a very dire picture because also as a businessman, he's in the business of positioning his services as a solution. So he'll paint the worst picture possible, then say you need a money manager like me to take care of you, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. So, but that's, if Mike, definitely Mike does a good job what he does. So, he wrote the book about the bond collapse way before because he actually sees some things. So no doubt he knows how to navigate a little bit. But once again, it doesn't take a PhD to navigate. And so, I just to kind of like give you like an inside clue as to where all this is and how all this plays out, which could and hopefully can provide you somewhat of an optimistic viewpoint. Because everything I'm talking about today, everything I've shared as far as all these articles talking about debt and give you numbers and throwing out all types of scenarios, they're all denominated in national currencies. All of this they're all denominated in national currencies. Our lives, national currencies, whatever country you might be watching from, is the intermediary between you, your skill, your labor, your talent, your gift. And so we got the national currency in the middle. And on this side, we got the goods and services, the tangible things. You, goods and services. Intermediary is the problem. But there's not only one intermediary. There's so many different options people can get to know that can serve as a way for you to get across from your skill and labor to paying your bills. There's many ways to get to the other side. You don't have to solely depend upon your national currency. And that's where people may not be so as in tune. So once again, it takes innovation, thinking outside the box, and you can figure out, multiple ways of doing such. And so definitely, when there's a will, there's a way. And so I think that a lot of people here know what's going on. So as always, I wouldn't be saying get your weight up if weight wasn't important, if weight wasn't part of the equation. And then anything on top of weight is you being willing to admit that, you're speculating, assuming that they will appreciate. But then once again, be careful of how you value their appreciation, because once again, you're valuing it in a term reference in the problem, in the form of the problem of these national currencies. So the measuring, you got to have a measuring stick. The problem is because there's no standard, there's no true standard outside of national currency. National currencies by themselves unbacked have become standards. They're not a good measuring stick. That's the problem. So you need something that you can measure against that has been proven, tested against time. And then that's where the importance of metals come into play, because you can depend upon the time concept for now. I believe there will come a time where the time concept will not matter because technology will make it irrelevant. But in the meantime, use history as a guide. Use history as a guide and as a measuring stick. And I think, my personal opinion, you'd be better off than if you didn't have something to measure against. So, yeah, man, that's it. That's it for tonight. I think I've ranted long enough. Not much activity on the phones tonight. You guys must have been either glued in or just having fun to chat without me. So either way, but it's been fun hanging out as always, man. I appreciate you guys listening to me rant and, give me an outlet to some of my thoughts. I appreciate it. As always, if you've enjoyed the back and forth, don't be afraid to click the button beneath this video, and you can click that one or that one, whatever floats your boat. Anyway, it takes energy to lift a hand and touch something. And then that would be definitely appreciated, because the goal is the more thumbs up we can get for these videos, the more opportunity strangers, those that are not in the community, will have a chance to find out this information that impacts them. And so we got two little thoughts to get off. It says, what do you think the next indicator is we should look for the collapse? Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn. Okay. I was a little slow on that one. To be honest, my personal opinion is all the indicators you need is present. Like, the next indicator, what I'm saying is I don't think we should wait for an indicator that's outright obvious to the world. And so the moment an indicator comes that a person who is not in the alternative media world knows about, then that means it's too late. So right now, majority of the public are being entertained by sports and all types of distractions, so they're not aware. But if you wait for an indicator, that means that those people will have been informed. And then at that point, the people at the very back of the building, when they get the news last, that's the worst time to start acting, because if you're in the back of the building, the chance of you getting to the door, if it's in the front, is non-existent. And so right now you have a front row seat in witnessing all the indicators you should need to begin thinking outside the box. So I'll leave it at that and go from there. But I wouldn't wait for an indicator, because I personally have more than enough to realize that things are not as, I'm not as confident, put like that, as a lot of people. It says, Mike, tell us a great Bible verse about the Bible. Low blood pressure. No, you didn't. No, you didn't just ask me for a Bible verse right now. because I got one for you, man. This is something that, let me see here. I'm gonna pull this up and I'm gonna show you, because this is not my opinion. That's the good part about scripture. It's not my opinion, and that's why, you know, I can't offend anybody, because this is just not mine. This is not me. This is just me sharing something with you. But here's something that, moving forward, I will definitely be talking more about, because let me pull this up here. Let me pull up the whole thing. Let me pull this up here. And this is a good verse that I think a lot of people, you know, let me go back a little bit. So I got it in front of me because I look at this verse often, I must admit, because I try to, you know, the best way to understand something is to meditate on it. Let me, okay, I got it right here. So I'm trying to find a great version, because I use a variety of versions to get context. So let me see. Okay, let me see this one. Let me see if this how this sounds. Just because it's one of them things. And I don't like that I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna do the amplified. Let me see the amplified version. See if that helps. Okay, sure. I'll share this with you. So this is a verse here that I particularly like, and I think it's it's one of the things that takes you beyond even the subject matter I talk about. So this goes beyond. And so, okay, I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna hang up because I can go on forever. There's different ways. There's different angles at which we can take things. We got natural. We got spiritual. We got natural, spiritual, and just say natural and spiritual. So the natural elements. So a lot of things about Rethinking the Dollar are just natural elements I talk about, practical matters, just like, you know, preparation. If you see a storm coming, you know, it's practical to prepare. And so that's something within your control. But then you have the spiritual element of things, which is, to me, the core of every single thing in existence. Everything we see with our eyes has a spiritual element to it. And then we can go into quantum physics, which I'm studying that as well, talking about energy, matter, stuff like that. All very interesting stuff, because it just to me verifies and verifies biblical stuff. But I'll get to that later. So I will be going down that road more often, because I just have to share it. But anyway, here's a quote here. And this is one thing that I think is remarkable to me. It's Proverbs chapter 8, verse 9 and 11. And so Proverbs was a portion of the book that was reportedly written by the person that was labeled the most wisest human being on the planet, Solomon. So these are the thoughts that came out of the mind of Solomon that was translated on script in the Hebrew, translated into Greek, translated into New Kings, and translated into whatever else we want to do now. So it's not necessarily the words itself. Don't take the words as like law. Take the context and the principles in the word. It's the principles that you can get out the words that make the most sense. Because even if you don't believe in it, that's okay. But just think about the nutrients of these words. Anyway, so here we go. I'll read it sweet, and I'm going to hang up after this. It says Proverbs, and it's referring to a certain category. And that category, it's all about wisdom. And then it talks more about wisdom in other books. But it says, quote, "They are all straightforward to him who understands, with an open and willing mind, and right to those who find knowledge and live by it." Referring to, this is about wisdom and God's words and things of that nature. If I was to move up to other verses. And then it says, just talking about the importance of having wisdom. It says, "Take my instruction." And this is a character known as wisdom speaking. "Take my instruction rather than seeking silver, and take knowledge." So you got instruction, and then you got knowledge. It says, "Take instruction rather than seeking silver, and take knowledge rather than the choices," or it says the finest gold in other versions. And then it tells you why. It says, "For wisdom is better than rubies." And so you think about it. Here it talks about, and this is text. This text is hundreds of 2,000 plus years old. of longer, actually about 3,600 years, whatever. So you just listen to this. It says, it lists in this subject matter the very same things we pretty much from a natural standpoint we prioritize as being of extreme importance because they're financial monetary instruments. And so that's how we think in this current text of preserving ourselves. It says, instead of seeking silver, instead of seeking gold, wisdom is better than rubies. And so ruby, silver, and gold are the three ultimate forms of wealth you could have probably had at this time. And Solomon is saying that Solomon had all this. He said, I got all this. And wisdom is better than that. And then it says here, it says, and all desirable things cannot compare to her referring to wisdom. As I referenced, wisdom in the Greek, or in the Hebrew, in the Hebrew, is translated Sophia. Sophia, of course, is a female's name, and so it's a lot of connotation to a female and how this scripture is translated. But sweet and simple, this is just things that really excite me because it helps shift my priorities. And so it's basically telling me your main objective for life in this current environment should be to get wisdom, because through wisdom, you'll get so much more outside of the finest silver, finest gold, and rubies, and anything else you place of high esteem and high value for yourself. Wisdom far surpasses that. And so this is one of them scriptures that it speaks volumes to me, because it's one of the things where the person who wrote this, he's a credible guy. And if it came from him, or just the very concept itself gives me a sense of like, okay, let me think about that a little bit, because, I'm up here talking about gold and silver as being the anchor of everything. If you read more of this, you get the idea that you can do all you want to do to prepare, but you can't preserve your life. You can preserve some wealth. You can, be rich on this side, the next side to collapse. But yet with wisdom, you get so much more. And it goes beyond financial. And so I'm going to be incorporating a lot of this spiritual elements along with the natural, because complete preparation has to do more so with your soul than your bank account or your pockets. Money comes and goes. Time and opportunity to impact other people's lives, you do not get that back. So anyway, I'm tired of preaching. Forgive me if I went overboard. But once again, I had to share this, so expect more of this. So if you guys want to hear more of this, definitely throw me a thumbs up over here in the chat, so I'll know that people are interested in this subject matter. And then if you're not, throw me a thumbs up too, because you're going to get it regardless if you are a viewer of RTD. So anyway, people, it's been great hanging out. And as always, man, natural preparation is one thing. So there's always opportunities for you to get knowledge, get wisdom, and get physical, tangible goods. All that information is down below. And so once again, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about opportunities to get natural. In RTD, silver coin still available. So one of them things where it's available, you have to prepare, take advantage of the natural side of things. But as you mentioned, as I just mentioned, the spiritual far surpasses that. So do the best you can, but other than that, stay prayed up, be blessed. And other than that, people, be safe. And if you want to support the channel at a higher level, your support is always welcome. Patreon, there's opportunities for you guys to contribute any form of fashion you want and be a part of the program. And definitely, it will be a blessing, because I have some projects I'm working on that I will be of great value to you, I promise. So that being the case, I am done ranting. It is late, it feels, and it's been close to an hour. That's longer than I typically go. But other than that, if you've enjoyed the back and forth, thumbs up. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. Share this information, or go throughout this video and grab some articles, send it to a friend. And so you're loving people by sharing information that impacts their future as well. Don't hog this information to yourself. Share it. Other than that, hey there, sorry for this interruption, but I wanted to bring something to your attention. If you've been enjoying this live stream, why don't you partner with me and be a support to the channel via Patreon membership for just a minimum of $5 a month. All you have to do is scroll down beneath this video here, click the Patreon link, then consider donating as little as $5 a month towards the channel. A little bit of crumbs can go a long way, and I appreciate your support. Now, let's get back to this live stream.